Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Kalachakra mandala and what you see within it. I was thinking about talking about this a bit earlier, but decided to kind of break it down in different videos. We've discussed in previous videos how when you look at the Kalachakra mandala, what you're seeing basically when you're looking at the circle around it, which is the general shape of the Kalachakra, or the wheel of time, space and time, if you will. And then what you're seeing within it is you're seeing cubes, basically, right, that are getting smaller and smaller as you look within it, if you will. And when you look in depth, so when you plunge within that cube with your eyes, if you will, you'll notice that's a tunnel, right? And then you have what's represented as the center of the Kalachakra, which can represent the center. But what you're looking at is a solid cube, if you will. Visualize a golden cube. Visualize the container, if you will, that contains a system within the Kalachakra, right? And at that, containers comes in many forms, bags, sacks, boxes, right? Sacks, right? And the list goes on and on and on. So that I won't get too much into the depth of containers and all that and how those relate, but maybe I'll talk about that at a later time. Parcels, right? Parcels of information and what contains those parcels, right? Containers. So at that point, I wanted to take this video not to talk about containers and all that and information packets. But what I wanted to talk about was the beings that you can see within the Kalachakra mandala, right? So I've discussed also how when you see those openings, if you will, on each square, right, or at each level of that tunnel, right? Since you're looking in depth, how the color coding represents permissions, right? So if you're moving through a Kalachakra tunnel, and you get to a specific color, if you have permission to to use that door, if you will, then you can use that door. So who grants these permissions? I've talked about that too. And that's what you're seeing when you're seeing basically the beings. So if you shift your view a little bit while looking at the Kalachakra mandala, you'll also notice that when you're looking at those colors, for example, take some example colors: black, blue, red, and yellow. We won't go into other colors right now. So what you're looking at right now is if you're looking at a mandala that has those colors, or let's say the white instead, okay? You're going to see in that color, whether it be black, blue, etc., okay, you're going to see, yes, there's that opening within the tunnel, right, or within the tunnel. But you're going to see that opening, when you look at it in depth, also creates the shape of a person or of a being, more likely. Okay, it doesn't have to exactly look like a person; it looks more like a being. Okay, you're going to see that's why there's a discoloration. There's a color that's been put for their feet and for their arms. To help confirm that. So you can see that, right? I think it's a little golden color or something like that. That's often used. So you're going to see, and then you're going to see the face, right? So when you're looking at those at each side of the square, if you will, of the tunnel, you're seeing the shapes that's identifying the color coding, right, for entering that. But you're also seeing the being, and if you shift your view properly, you can see that being almost operates within like a control zone, almost like a control panel, right? You see like little what looks like almost like piano notes. And that's a control panel. So what you're seeing basically is a representation of the beings that govern the permissions for different tunnels, right? So you're basically, think about it this way. You have systems, and then you have systems that direct those systems, right? And then you have systems that direct those systems, right? And eventually you get to what you want, almost like a project manager of all these systems that are moving, right? For specific operations, if you will, okay, or calculations. So you have, for example, the being that'll govern the permissions for the black doors, okay? So I happen to be the being for the black. So, it's interesting, amongst other things you can say. So at that point, what you have is you have someone who can govern permissions for, you could say, admin access, if you will. Right? There's a term, privileged access, and those kind of refer to different doors in a way too. But in this case, yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So if you train your sight a little bit while looking at the Kalachakra mandala, you'll see these beings, right, with their face and everything, and even the shapes of their face and their features within the Kalachakra mandala. And the key to look at those is to look at the specific colors of those doorways outside of the tunnel. And you'll see that the subsequent combination of those colors, if you will, makes the shape of a being, basically. So once again, those beings being like the big guys that govern permissions, if you will, right, amongst other things. So and that's why they're related to a color or a specific level, if you will. So just thought I'd have a quick video on that, and maybe one day I'll get more into detail about containers and all that stuff, and the information that's contained within containers and how that information moves around. So even if you think, for example, a garbage bag, right? All the stuff you put in the garbage bag, right? Containers, whether they be empty containers, still full containers, all that stuff, right? And then how you move that around and how that can have an impact and things like that. So anyways, just wanted to kind of go in a little bit more into the Kalachakra. Thanks for listening.